So it's really just great for sorting things. So it's got these little pockets, and I've got something different in each pocket. So because I sit on this side, I've got everything facing me from this direction, so I can see it and flick through it from right from my seat where I'm sitting. So I've got everything from my, like, you know, pearls and those sorts of things. I've got my acetate sheets in here, and I've got some like thickers and things like that. So these are all things that are thin and hard to keep sorted, and I sort of just don't want them to get wrecked. So I've got, like, you know, my stickers, my printed letters and things like that. And that one, I keep all my stencils in this pocket, which is getting quite fat because I'm getting more stencils. But yeah, so it works really well because they stay safe and well kept without getting, you know, broken or bent or anything like that. They're close at hand, so I can quickly rummage through and flick through things to find everything I want. I've got some foam sheets for making shaker cards, my foam adhesive thing for mounting on rubber stamps. Keep all my smaller watercolor pads in here. So I've got my favorite $2 shop one, another one from local. I've got the my Distress ink watercolor ones here. So this is sort of all my watercolor paper, which is nice and close. I have different brands because they have different shades of white, and I don't know, some of them are better than others, and I'm still trying to find the perfect one. This one here is crap ones. You can see no good for anything else. Only use this Distress ink for blending, because that's all this one is good for. It was, yeah, from an Aldi store. Then I've got my Strathmore watercolor paper here that doesn't have a cover because I ripped it off because I wanted something for a different project that I needed a thicker paper for. And then I've got, like, my Ink and Inkadoo masking paper, some of those piercing like stencils for doing stitching on cards, some doilies as well, and then I've got just here some texture type things for when you're doing an embossing and stuff like that, or embossing paste and those things. So that's that shelf. This one here, also, maybe this is my most used one, but pretty much keeps all of my main things. So I've got one like this. I should say first, this rubbery mat thing is new to Ikea this year, and it's, I think you can find it in the kitchen and desk area. I'm pretty sure I found it in the desk area, but it's just a rubber mat and it keeps everything from sliding around. Before I had this, it was a nightmare. Now it's amazing. I keep all my scissors and like cutting things there. I've got a little space here that fits my rulers, so they're nice there. Oh, speaking of rulers, I forgot to say, I tuck my little T ruler just in there. So that's my most used ruler, and it sits perfectly right there. And yeah, that was my little trick of where I put it. And then I've got all my paintbrushes in this one, so that's there. And in here I've got just whatever ones I'm using now. So a couple bit of foam adhesive, like the foam pads, whatever. And then I've got my most used black ink, which is my VersaFine. I'm just going to refocus for you. VersaFine, and then my archival jet black ink. I also have my little distresser tool, some erasers. This is one of those ones that gets rid of like adhesive. And then I've got my pencil sharpener. So behind that I keep like a roll of foam tape that I sort of just use only for shaker cards because it's much easier than these little foam squares. I keep some normal tape for wrapping presents and some packaging tape for sending things overseas. And this is just some double-sided tape that I sometimes use on envelopes when I'm giving someone a package of envelopes for gift cards they can use, so I can put it on the envelope so they close for them. Just some random glue. And I keep all of my, this one actually normally sits here, so I keep my Tombow Mono multi-glue, one side focus, just here as well. So, and then I've got, just not sitting today. Anyway, I keep all my pens and stuff in here, or anything that's pen shaped, I should say. So I've got like a mini mister, which is not a pen, but it is pen shaped. So that sits in there. My Wink of Stellar pens, my quick stick tool. This is where my little file sits. And then my little white gel pens and all that sort of stuff. So I keep that there along with my little water brush. I only ever use this when traveling. It is good for traveling. Then I've got like a white Sharpie marker. And then behind that is less used things, such as my little, I forgot what these things are called, but it's one of those roller thingies you put ink on. And I've got a couple other roller ink pads. There, my little date stamp. These are things that I don't use as often, but I don't really have a proper spot for them to go, so I just shove them in the back there, and they fit nicely. So, like I said, this one's receipts. I'm not going to open it because I can barely close it at the minute. I need to do some filing. But this one here is my last storagey area. So, because I sit from here, this is my normal view. So in this one, I've got, this is the wider DVD case too, which you can see it's quite a bit wider than the other ones. So I keep all of my glitter and embossing-y type stuff in this side. We'll just bend down so I can give you a better view. Okay, so I have my scrubber mat, which is the other most used thing in my office for cleaning stamp pads, but I just chuck it on top. It doesn't belong here, but it sits on top because it's in easy reach. But in the actual thingy here, I've got some StazOn ink, so I keep that here, and I've got all my wow embossing powders, some glitter, that sort of thing. So I've got a few in containers here. I also have my Versamark ink, and yeah, so these are all just containers from, I don't know, random $2 shops and stuff like that. So yeah, so I keep all of that in there so it's all together. So what I've also started doing is just putting something on the top of them so I can see what the embossing powder looks like. I do want to add to my ink swatch and do all these so I can just look in one place instead of sifting through here, but that has not happened yet. These blue containers, they're from Ikea. They are super cheap. I think they're less than $1 each, which is why I bought them to keep embossing powder in. So there's this little round size, which is the newer size, and originally I could only find the bigger size. So this one does fit a full spoon in there, which is good, but these ones don't, but I just cut the spoon down to fit. So, and I just use painter's tape, if it will focus for me eventually. Yeah, so, but I just keep the spoons loose in there. But that's where I keep my most used embossing powders, just in these containers here. So they're nice and close, they're tucked away, so that's all good. Behind it, way at the back, if I reach in, I don't even need to look in. I have my envelope board, so when I'm going to do envelopes, it's really just reach in and feel around and I'll eventually find it. And then below that I've got some really old project-y stuff, like in folders and stuff that I don't have the heart to throw out, but I look at like never, so that's why it's at the back there and you can't see it. And then in the front here I've got my Distress ink tools, just in a spare clear block. And this thingy here, which I know a lot of people love, but for me, that there, focusing, anyway, it does not work anymore. It's all matted. So I pulled everything from out of here and put it in a jar, and I use the paintbrush to apply it now to my paper.